Let's see.
I look so tan.
You too. That's the filter. We put the tan filter on you. The post now will have the YouTube one. So when you share it, if anyone's like, why do you want to watch it on YouTube?
Right.
And then ski boot, ski boot don't. And then I get to say, yep, there we are in real life.
Okay,
good.
cool.
It's your pretty nails.
Share, and then I'm sharing to my page. Perfect.
Erika. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We kind of, we're going to make pretend we didn't do, because we did the radio one, the phone one. That was like super COVID.
Yeah.
And I was so bummed because I was trying to keep the show alive, and thank you for doing that one. But this is your, like, the real one.
Okay.
So people can see. You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
You know, as soon as you got out of the car, you just like, I saw the leg come out. Bam. It's just like, you're just like stunning. I hope, and I know you're probably not feeling it because you got your boo-boo.
I got a boo-boo, yeah.
I know. For those, she's got a boo-boo. So, yeah. Erika Rivera. I want you to, for those that don't know this beautiful woman, someone asked me the other day, they go, what does she do? And I'm like, you got it. You got a minute, because it's gonna, what do you, how should I even, because you're like me in a way, like you're just many hats, right?
I wear a lot of hats.
How would you want to introduce yourself? Because I don't even know what to.
Yeah, I have to I found an umbrella way to tell people who I am. So I'm a sex coach.
Okay.
A sexual health educator, whatever you want to call me. But I do that, and that's kind of the umbrella for a couple of things that I'm involved in. And I'm also a professional belly dancer.
That one. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and an agency represented model. So I've been doing modeling for 13, almost 14 years. Same with the belly dancing. Been doing it that long. I dance every other Saturday in a hookah bar, like Mediterranean restaurant. So that's a lot of fun. And I teach classes here in Flagler County on Monday nights. And the rest of the time I focus on the sexual health aspect of my career. So I do one-on-one coaching. I do talks, seminars, webinars.
Right.
Yeah. And
I love it. Yeah. It's a lot. And I loved when you shared with me when I fell in love with you. It's been a minute now. Mm-hmm. And I know that I love how you, can I get some of the compliments out of the way?
Sure. I'm going to get super shy though.
Go shy it up. I like how when you and I when we have our chitty chats, I like how you've been able to persevere in the midst of kind of I'll just use the word convoluted, because I mean, it's tough. We know that, you say the word sex and immediately. And I love how, and I also say this as a caveat, the bit that I do know you, I know that you're a real human and you have your own your own woebegons and your own self-doubts, etc.
Oh yeah.
And I love how you persevere through that, represent a really tough vertical, and then also do it knowing that there's a lot to be talked about, etc. Because I loved when you shared that with me the very first time.
It's been a tough journey, because I just celebrated last Thursday 10 years.
Get out of town.
So I've been a sexual health educator for 10 years now. But man, the beginning was really hard, especially, and unfortunately, this community is kind of conservative. And so 10 years ago when I started, I would get like, are you even old enough to talk to me about this? And so, obviously I wasn't making money in the beginning. Right. It was just a matter of getting the word out there. Like, this is what I'm doing. Right. I'm going to educate people on sex health. I'm going to talk to youth about sex health.
Right.
I'm going to talk to people about sexual assault, because that is also a real thing, and these are really tough subjects. Right. And despite all, the roadblocks that I hit, I just kept going. And I feel like now that it's been a decade, like, it's holy crap. Yeah. Like, I can't believe it's been that long. Now I really feel like I'm starting to make that impact that I was looking for.
You're getting the aspect.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. And now I'm like, I'm doing things like this, right? I get to be on podcasts. Yeah. I do a late night TV show every now and then. Yeah. I've been on that show. It's called The Lowdown. I've been there. It's my 5th appearance that I had recently. So now people are more, they're more open to having me speak on their platform so openly about sex. And I love that. Like,
well, it's awesome that you get to share what you're obviously passionate about, but as the scene's changing and as people are becoming more educated, it's benefiting you. Why do I feel though, and this is the part of the show that's just like, and if you do, you do. If you're not, I don't know. I feel like you have something going on, not in a bad, not like but I feel like you have. I see your posts, the recreational ones, the professional ones, and I'm just always enamored by you. I'm proud of you. And I love watching, and I say this once again, is throwing that caveat out there for those that listen to this, not only in this moment, but in the future. You're a real person. And it's tough because I feel like sometimes, whether you're watching a Joe Rogan show or this or that, and you see people when they're sharing that moment of success or there's a mission or an agenda.
Right.
Sometimes it can come off like, well, what do you must be nice because you're just hanging out on a Wednesday afternoon. It's like, no. We're just as conflicted that everyone is. And that's what I try to always interject in my own, like with people. And I know you a bit personally, that I know that you're human and it takes a lot to persevere. But why do I feel like, whether it's professionally or do you have anything going on that you got, like, I don't know, in a good way? Do you have
a lot going on?
What do you feel like? I felt in my heart, literally, this was my only question that I knew that was premeditated was, what does Erica feel like? Why do I feel like you've got something that you're trying to scream out to the world? And I don't know. Is that fair?
That's fair. That's fair to say. Because my career choice stems from personal experiences. So it's not like one day I woke up and I was like, I'm just going to teach people about this. Like, it's a cool subject. No. Like, I've been through a lot in my life. I went through a sexual trauma when I was a kid, went through a sexual trauma as a teenager. And, I've always felt like sex needed to be a non-taboo subject, so that adults, anyone could be comfortable talking about things that are happening to them. I just found it weird how with mental health, with physical health, with other aspects of our bodies and other aspects of our health, we can talk so freely about it, but God forbid we talk about the sexual things going on with us. People just kind of throw,
stays in the bedroom.
It just stays in the bedroom, and that's not healthy. To me, that's not healthy.
So do you still feel this an appropriate burden of sharing? I love when you've shared bits and pieces of your experiences. Super amazing. And I say amazing out of love, like but to use it as a stepping stone, which is amazing, and I'm proud of you. Is that why I feel like this little feeling that it's
well, I feel like there's still more to be done. Like, even though it's been 10 years, I'm like, okay, we're just getting started. Like, this is now like the start of something, because it took me 10 years to just get people to listen.
Is it crazy?
Like, hey, I'm here. So now I feel like this is where the real work is about to happen.
I'm sure it doesn't boil down to this, but this chitty chat is as if we're not even live. What would be some of the things that are like the most, like, like, for instance, with the internet, people now think I'm building the metaverse. They're like, oh, it's like, or you could fix a TV. Like, what are some of these things that are that are the misconceptions that you're dealing with or have, and that you're having it? Well, I know the list is probably like this, but knowing that I feel like you want to scream to the mountaintops, not with negative, not like everyone listen to me, but I feel there's something, no joke. I keep saying it, but remember you texted me yesterday and you were like, is there anything that we could, the only thing I thought, I was like, I just feel like you've got something to say.
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions. I don't even know where to start. So on the simplistic way, people automatically think I'm a sex worker when I talk about sex.
Like, you could be hired for.
Which there's nothing wrong with sex working. That's just not what I do. So I've had clients think that a private session includes so that's one little misconception. But on a bigger platform, people think that because I'm a sexual health educator and a sex coach, that I have it all together when it comes to relationships. Right. So that's, and I'm like, okay, just because I have a certain skill set doesn't mean that the other person that I'm involved with, which it's nobody's business anyway, who I'm involved with. But, I get that a lot, because I'm in the spotlight constantly when it comes to sex and relationships. So people just think like that all my relationships are perfect.
Supernova.
I'm like, it's great. So I get a lot of questions about that. And, that's a lot of pressure. Same with, some clients come in and they think that I can just automatically fix whatever's going on sexually in their lives. They don't realize that it takes, quite a few sessions to kind of figure that out. I get mistaken a lot for being a sex therapist, which they are two different things.
Can we talk about that? Because I don't really know the difference.
Oh yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I actually recently did another podcast about it because I get that question the most often.
So there's sex therapist
and there's sex coach.
How about for the layman folk, me, what would be someone seeking sex therapy? Is that someone trying to increase the livelihood in the bedroom? Is that like someone seeks a sex therapist, or is that?
So sex therapy is more so for the folks that are looking into their past trauma and looking to still heal from that. So I was wrong. Yeah. Exactly. So a sex therapist is going to sit down and talk to you about your past and about your childhood and certain things that have already happened to understand why you're reacting the way you are today, when it comes to your life in the bedroom, or really just interacting with your partner. It doesn't always have to involve sex per se. And a licensed therapist can diagnose certain issues, whether that be anxiety, depression, or, erectile dysfunction and things like that. I can't do that. I'm not licensed, so I can't diagnose people with anything. However, as a sex coach, I meet you where you are and help you get to your goal. So I'm looking ahead. So I'm meeting you wherever you're at this moment. Hopefully you've already understood, how you got to where you are, and we're working on your goals. So we sit down together and we discuss what are some of the relationship or sexual goals that you have in mind, and I help you achieve those things.
Interesting.
So
are you, what would be, and this is just out of my own curiosity, are there some things that seem to be a common denominator amongst many? And I know we're not going to say names and specifics, obviously. Like, what happened to Billy Bob in the bedroom? Is it good? But I'm talking about some of the nuances that you may be dealing with that are good, bad, and indifferent. For instance, like I do a lot of website, right? Like a lot of people come to me and they don't have a website and they don't have a domain yet. Like do you see something going on in this era, been doing this now a decade, that is either the same, it's changing, it's evolving? Like what's that space look like?
I will say communication about sex between partners, even 10 years later, still isn't really happening. Wow. So I get that constantly where, someone may come in and say, hey, there's this certain activity I want to try, but I don't know how to talk to my partner about it. Or vice versa. Maybe the partner has been approached already by their spouse and they're like, I don't know how to handle this because I went through XYZ and I don't know how to talk to them about that.
I see.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're married and they don't know about the trauma you've been through, or they don't know about the sex life that you had prior to getting married to them, or whatever the case may be. But people just don't, it's crazy how a lot of people don't talk about their sex lives with their own partners.
With the partners. I think of the common denominator amongst many relationships that can be a massive kryptonite is communication. I hear that a lot. And that's nothing paramount. That's been going on since
forever,
thousands of years. I'm sure it's communicating and not just about each other, but I think just in
general. Yeah. I mean, people should be talking about that from the beginning, really.
I'm sure. I guess it's I don't even know because I'm not versed in it, but I would imagine I'm the furthest thing from normal anyways when it comes to communicating. My vernacular. Yes. And I love that you entertain it because I know it. My motive, but I don't talk and like, it's great to see you. I'm more like, girl, you got it, girl, you like, but I'm also not like, let's get into bed. But there's a lot of that too. But with I've noticed that there's still got to be so much. I joke around a lot that I love talking about drugs, sex, and semen. That's like my thing. Because
that's why we get along.
Yeah, okay. Probably since day one. And it's once again with a pure motive. It's not like, tell me about yours and like how we're going to do it. But I think it's so much better than talking about the weather, stocks,
Absolutely.
Family drama, etc. It's like, let's just talk about the whimsical things because I'm not going to fix you. I just want to hear you and I love to listen.
Right.
But I think it will always, I turn off a lot of people. You say semen in a, I mean,
listen,
like
I did a seminar recently, and every time I said the word penis, I had a table that was constantly giggling, and I'm like, how old are we?
It will always
it will
carry
always
that.
Be weird. Yeah.
I notice I'm very good at my surroundings and like social dichotomies, and I'll be at a bar-ish scene, even if it's like an ocean top deck, and I'm not screaming like "Duke in your mouth," but I'll say like don't put that semen on me, just joking with my home, like whether a girl boy, doesn't matter. And there is some like, excuse me. So I get it, and I'm assuming what you're saying, it's confirming that it's still tough. It's tough
still
to talk
taboo,
about.
and I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to talk about it, even if you get uncomfortable. Right. So, and I think that's why I've made it 10 years is because I'm still going to be in people's faces until something happens. So, and like I said about the communication, yeah, that's super, super common. And it makes me sad, and I really hope that couples can start talking about that. And it's not just, believe it or not, it's not just couples. So I have found in recent years that a lot of people don't even talk to their doctors about their sex life.
Interesting.
And doctors don't ask. Have you ever noticed that?
I've never been asked.
Doctors don't ask about.
What would be the benefits of that?
Well, for example, your GYN, or at least for the ladies.
For the girls.
They don't even ask. And they should be asking, there's certain benefits, like, you might be going through hormonal changes. If you're having painful intercourse, it's important that your doctor knows that. There's certain things in your sex health that could be caused by other things that are imbalanced.
Interesting.
Your mental health affects your sex health. Your physical health affects your sex health. So if your doctor's not even asking about your sex health, how do we know what's really going on? And again, I did a talk with actually Dr. Amy. I'm going to give her a shout out. She's great. And, she deals with hormones. And, we talked about how it can be your hormones, but it could be your mental health. There's just so many things, so if your doctor knows that you're having painful intercourse, or your libido is low, or, it's been so long since you had a period, those are super important because it could be linked to something else going on. I know.
I love you.
And I just that really boggled my mind, because I never thought about that really.
I've never thought about that.
Never ever thought about that. And I'm like, oh yeah, doctors don't ask us about that.
It's interesting because my brain's firing all these different neurons now that I'm like, I've never thought about this. Now we're embarking on, you're going to be 20 forever. I know you already are. You're going to be sexy 20 forever. But as we're getting older, I've noticed that, I just watched this older guy in his 80s listening to a band that he used to be in. Yeah. And I'm looking at him and I wasn't impressed with more of the music that I was more of if I make it, I'm going to be, I have this conception, this feeling that I'm like, I'm never going to look like that. And I'm not just talking about just the vanity, but it's happening, and I'm realizing too that you're saying that it correlates so much with maybe there's other things that are going on in life that have to do with, I think just I had this conversation yesterday with somebody amazing, and I like to bring better light to things that have darkness shaded on it. For instance, the word codependency. Everyone's like, oh, codependency is like having a disease. I don't see any problem with being codependent. My middle name is codependent. I love being around people. I love communicating. I love being hugged. But I think the reason why I'm hoping that mine isn't debilitating to me or others is that it's I don't need it.
Right.
I want it. And if I have to go through a period of time because of an injury or seclusion because of COVID, I'm not in the corner shaking because I'm having withdrawals.
I think for you, it's not an addiction.
Yeah.
It's not an addiction. It's just something you enjoy. That's your personality. That's
right.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with codependency if it's in a healthy manner.
But to your point though, you say some of these keywords and people are like, whoa, dude.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. STDs and
can't say STDs on airplane, girl.
Oh my goodness. Gosh. That's another thing too. Is the reason why I encourage couples to talk to each other about their sex life is, you know, a lot of people are afraid of judgment. I mean, let's face it, you know, and STIs are still a super taboo subject as well, but a lot of us have it. A lot of us have it, and
Does that mean
we shouldn't
infection?
yes,
STI? Okay, I was
STIs.
like, oh gosh,
So
she's getting too smart with me.
I know. So like it used to be STDs, you know, but now we say STIs.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of terminology too. We could have a whole nother podcast.
I didn't get the memo on
we
this.
could do a whole nother podcast.
So we're not
on
using the term. We're not using that acronym anymore.
I use it sometimes, you know, because a lot of people are not used to STIs, but we're calling it infections rather than a disease, because disease just has more of a negative connotation to it. But yeah, so you know, more people than you think have an STI. It's just not talked about, and so that's something else that I kind of want to, you know, break down the wall on. We should be able to talk about that freely, especially when you're thinking about getting in a relationship or having a sexual partner. You know, it really sucks to not be able to feel comfortable to have that conversation. Or, you know, I've met people who have tried to, and they're met with that judgment or like, oh, like you have what? You know, but if people would just get educated, they would realize that people with STIs can still have a normal sexual life. Right. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, taking the time to get educated and care, you know, and that's another one of my like,
do you see being so intimate with this space? Do you see I've been out of the game for a minute. Yeah. It's been about 10-ish years since I've seen the dating scene, and this. It's appropriate to say you're in the dating scene because we haven't had that. Okay, let it be. Never mind. Sorry. We don't know, folks. Okay. Just send in your fan mail.
Big question mark.
We don't know. Leave that to TBD. But I would imagine, being that you have so many people talking with you, you're hearing a lot of good, bads, and indifference of relationships. Here's my hypothesis on things with going on that I'm my little bit of naiveness that I see, because I'm not in the game. Right. But this is a shitty game. No one's talking to anybody, man.
Nobody's talking to
the
anybody.
Girls that I even still blessed with having in my life because I'm such a chitty chatter. All of them always say the same thing. Like, you're the only guy that I talk to on the phone. And I'm like, what? And I'm not doing it to achieve any, it's not like, so now it's just communication. I've grown up since I remember grabbing the see-through phone that I had when I was in my teens and calling girls that I had memorized it and talking and communicating. And I'm not saying boys should be like me. I get it. A lot of guys don't want to like talk, but I'm just noticing more and more and more and more that. And it's not even just a dude thing. I don't think people want to like talk on the phone or like talk. It's just like, what are we going to do here?
Everything is that immediate gratification. Yeah. Even with communication, it's turned into immediate gratification. Right. If you can't say what you have to say with like an acronym in one text message,
let's go.
We're on to the next.
Is that sad?
We're
all guilty of it. I did tell this a girlfriend of mine I was talking to yesterday. I thought, and I'm guilty of this, so I'm not just, this isn't like a bashing session to anyone listening. You must have it all figured out. You talk on the phone, you're cool. No, I'm just as stunad as the average. I'll sit right here on this couch, TV on, phone in hand, and having a conversation. And it's like, can't you slow down, bro? Like I'm getting mad at myself sometimes. And I'm like, what's feeding me here? And then the minute you get one of them gone, you're almost like, oh, I'm bored. Yeah. Can't you just not, once again, it's not anyone's fault. I'm just as guilty, but I had a little family dinner here the other night. It's about like 8 to 10 of us, pretty decent sized group. And what do you think? All of us, and I think because of that, there's no irony that TikTok is the leading form of social media aggregation. You have 60 seconds or 15 seconds. They just went to 3 minutes. Right. 3 minutes is like, I still have haters out there that like, dude, your show's like, no one's watching. Like, I still don't care because my idol was Rogan and I love long formatted conversations. Right. But I know that most people aren't sitting they can't. No, we don't do it anymore.
No, our brain. I feel like our brains are used to that now. We're used to like, okay, after 15 seconds,
moving on to the
next subject. It's like we get bored that quickly, and that sucks because I feel like that's also affecting some of the clients that I see. Like, I totally feel like whatever's going on culturally also affects our sexual health. So like I said, like we could have I could literally
Girl,
talk about a
we're
different
gonna need-
topic every day. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
But culturally, we're affected. So right now, with the immediate gratification and the lack of communication and not talking to your partner, but also culturally with our upbringing, you know, like I'm an 80s baby, so I'm used to like being on the phone and talking, and that was okay. And, you know, but back then too, I felt like it was more taboo. So like my parents didn't talk sex. I mean, maybe, you know,
no one really did.
Yeah, no one didn't talk. Yeah, exactly. So like, not only was I not getting educated at home, but I wasn't getting educated at school.
No.
Actually, to this day, our school system. Sorry.
I remember how
our school system does not have a comprehensive yeah, like
come on.
Sex ed, you know, there's no sex ed. You know, people just what we grow up learning really is abstinence or they scare us out of having it or like STIs and unwanted pregnancies are really the two topics that are like really presented, and then that's it. And then it's like you're on your own.
Would it be a fair argument then? Are you saying, because this is what I'm thinking, let's bring in a little bit more of the romanticism and the benefits of?
Yes, because people don't realize you're allowed to have pleasure-based sex.
You know what's funny you're saying this before I forget? Yesterday when I was also scrolling, I guess I belong or the algorithms loves that I seem to hover on really emotional stuff when it comes to elderly people. I really love seeing how they like not forgetting them. And I saw another little snippet of like somebody elderly listening to something, and I thought to myself, no joke. I know this sounds taboo, but I literally am like, I bet you she has sex still. She wasn't like dying either. It was just maybe in her 60s, 70s age. But isn't it funny that we automatically think that once you're gray and wrinkled, like
that you don't do
but
that?
I thought as I'm getting older and I realize that how it's still so important to me, I'm like, it's funny that we grow up with this, like, oh, our parents and older people, they don't do that anymore. And it's like, what? They're probably wanting to or do it more because their sense of mortality is even that much more. And the availability is that much more slimmer. So if you're still in the dating game and single and you're kissing 50 plus, it's got to be even more wretched. And I say that meaning like just the acquisition of finding decent folk that are.
Oh, trust me, they still want to. I've had people, considered elderly, who are in the dating scene and don't know how to talk to someone. You know, or I've had older people, like I had this one client who had never had an orgasm before.
Get the hell out of here.
And, you know, it was over 60.
See?
You know, and it's like, oh my gosh. But that's what I also mean by culturally, perhaps
they grew up with
that, you know, you only have sex to have families, you know, and that's it. And now she finds herself single again. And oh my gosh, I've never experienced an orgasm. You know, and so that's another reason why I push communication and I push, you know, sex positivity and, you know, making sure that people know it's okay to have pleasure-based sex. It's not just about
making a baby. Right.
It really isn't.
I just saw a mini doc the other day about a woman in her kissing 70s, I think.
Oh.
And a voluptuous woman, not like, you know, like like the kind of woman you bump into getting, you know, grocery, like wasn't someone you're going to follow through the grocery store, a real just next door kind of woman.
Yeah.
Still beautiful, but long story short, homegirl is the top 1% of OnlyFans.
Wow.
Not in her age demographic.
In general.
Now,
that's awesome.
You say that, and immediately you can imagine that she's just some soulless, shallow. I know you wouldn't think this, but when I saw the title, I'm like, of course, I'm not going to lie. I'm human, and I'm absolutely affected negatively by normal society, and I'm like, oh, this bitch is just a whore, right? Like, of course, I don't really exercise that, but I'm thinking I'm not going to really watch this. Well, I watched it, and I go to watch it, and it was literally like watching one of my own I say this out of love, like she was so homegrown, and she had grown up in Louisiana.
Okay.
For those that don't know, it's on Vice, so go to YouTube on Vice and type in top OnlyFans or something. It just came out a couple weeks ago, a month ago.
She's in her 70s.
She's in her 70s.
Wow.
And she's in Louisiana. She's grown up like paycheck to paycheck, barely making it. And the most sweet, you could sense in 2 seconds, sweet, confident woman. Well, long story, she never really did well with men. Her life wasn't always and started doing her OnlyFans, and people are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because she's tapping into a segment that most would never admit that they have, but she's a little heavier set, but just sexy, just got that look, you know,
her.
and
Plus her confidence, I'm sure, just
and the most of the mini doc, she's crying and pure, just like, I can't believe this is happening for me.
Yeah.
Because she's always been broke, this, that, and this. And you could see the money hasn't even changed her. She's talking on her couch. She's dealing with so many health ailments, like real life stuff, that it's helped her deal with health ailments. In the midst of the documentary, she had to go, it was like a cliffhanger. She had to go get her heart looked at. She was like, she may not make it. And at the end, they're like, she's good. But the entire documentary, she's like, the money's not even changing the reality.
Right.
Like, I'm dying. It's just great that in my golden years, but you could see there's no pride, no this. My whole point of even saying that is, where are you at with, there's such a frowned upon. It's safe to say that girls have 5 boyfriends, you're a whore. Boys have 5 girlfriends, they're awesome. That will always, unfortunately, until further notice.
Right.
And I'm not saying I agree.
Right.
I'm not saying I agree. You know me well enough.
Yeah.
But that stigma is still there.
It is.
Where are you at with the women out there, which I'm like, I gotta say, girls out there making money selling feet pics, God bless you. I don't know how I've had a lot of women, I say a lot, accumulatively, not like 10 in a day, that have asked me, can you help me get this online and this? I'll be very candid with a lot of people. I haven't helped anyone because I'm in this, my own weird, like Pandora's box. Like, I give them what I would do, or like what I've seen work, and you guys have to just do it on your own, because I don't know, as pilgrim as it sounds, I don't know if I could sleep at night if I'm like, oh man, this girl's like selling her flesh online. I don't know yet. Yeah. I'm working on that. But girls that are legitimately, where are you at with this whole OnlyFans and this, that, and the other?
I mean, my thing. So it's tough because I try not to get too personal when I'm trying to guide someone, you know, so because my personal opinion may not always match what I'm educating, because, you know, I have my own upbringing, my own things, like you said, your own Pandora's box. You know, I was raised like in a super Catholic household. Right. I'm not Catholic anymore, you know, but I'm still spiritual. And so, you know, but not all my clients are, so I can't, right. You know what I mean? So, and that's another super uncomfortable topic too. Right. But what I will say is that I always preach staying safe. Just be safe. So safety. Oh yeah. So not just virtually, but, you know, in person as well. So if you have 5 boyfriends, good for you, but just stay safe. Right. You know, that's all I really care about. And then, you know, online, you know, if you are making money selling feet pics, girl,
elbow pics,
do your thing. But my thing is safety. You know, there's a lot of creepers out there online, and that's why it's hard for me to give a solid opinion based on how I feel on it. Because, you know, what if I were to tell someone, yeah, do this, and God forbid, you know, someone has hacked into their laptop and, you know, found out where they live, and I've seen too many movies. So I don't encourage it or discourage it. You know, I preach safety, you know, especially being a sex health educator. You know, safety is always priority. Right. You know, so even though like earlier we were talking about STIs, I'm not saying like, hey, pro STIs, do your thing and cool.
Spread them around.
No, I'm just saying that if you have it, you know, people should be comfortable talking about it. You know, but make sure that you're safe when you're having, you know, when you're involved with a sexual partner, whether that's one person or 10 people. Right. Just be safe. That's really, because it's no one's business how many people you're sleeping with, how many people you're dating. You know, it is kind of unfair that men are seen like gods because they have all these partners. Weird, it's super weird. But, you know, I don't hate. Just stay safe.
I like how you're presenting it, because I hear and see more of it because being in the digital space, I have many that come to me with, help me build out my platform. And now you know me well enough that I don't yes people to death and I'm not driving a Ferrari. So that means that I don't just say, I'll do it. And then I just go on OnlyFans and just, and then like, I'm running it for you. It's literally that easy. So I'm like, why don't you try it?
Yeah.
And
being a model. So I've been modeling a long time, and I've done boudoir photography. That's me.
Right.
And I'm a sex health educator. So I've had people come to me and they're like, oh, maybe you can teach me a certain pose. Maybe you can teach me about a certain fetish, and I'll include that in OnlyFans. Cool. I can educate you.
Right.
But from there, like, that's where it stops, like,
right.
I'm not going to give an opinion, because really my opinion doesn't matter.
Right.
It's your life. And if it makes you happy and you are healthy and safe, I'm always going to say, go for it. But that's my thing, is
I love that you keep preaching the safety thing, because out of all the things I've said when they do come to me and they hound me for the opinion, I don't mind sharing mine. And I've said, look, I don't know if I would be able, I can in 2 seconds, if I would try to make pretend I use the word diabolical, meaning like if I really didn't have any moral compass or care, I feel like I would, if I was a girl, I would be going full blown. But I say that because I'm not a girl.
Yeah.
But some of the ones that ask me for my opinion, I go, if your face isn't in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to, and I'm not talking about using your own handle.
Right.
But if you're, and you're trying to bring in incremental revenue,
right,
it's hard for me to say no. But it's also hard for me to say yes, because this is what I say to all of them. If you can sleep at night, that's really what it comes down to.
Like, if you're happy and you're not feeling guilty about it, cool. It's when my issue. So my opinion really is that if you don't feel good about it at the end of the day, don't do it. Because I've met people that do it because I have to pay this bill or I have to do whatever, but they're miserable. They don't feel good, when they lay their head down. So
they're like their own sex slave.
That's when I'm against it. I'm pro when I know that you're happy doing it. You don't have guilt or shame.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people struggle with that, because culturally growing up, if we're talking, demographic, like 30s, 40s, growing up, most of us did grow up in Christian households where, that can still affect you now.
Right.
It's almost like we all have PTSD from things that we learned when we were kids. And, you start to do something new, like OnlyFans, and you're like, oh, wait, is this okay? Like, if you're feeling like that, take a time out and really evaluate if that's what you want to do, because you don't want to cause more trauma for yourself later on. But if you're happy and you're excited about it and you're talking about it the way I talk about sex health, then why not?
Go for it.
Why not?
I think it's worth talking about and looking into, because it's a growing segment. It's going to get, I don't know what terminology to describe it as, whether better or worse. It depends on how you look at it. It's going to become more prevalent. Like it's going to happen. And look, I mean, that's why they're doing this American Care Act or whatever they called it. Like, those are making, if you're getting that Venmo money, they're coming after you. They're coming.
Yeah. See, with me personally, like when I do boudoir photography, I love to be in lingerie, and my images, I like to do them in a tasteful manner. And at times I may be topless,
right?
But it's done in a way that's artistic,
right?
That's just me personally, though. That doesn't mean everyone else has to do it that way.
When you started making those decisions, when you first started doing that, did you deal with a lot of conflict? Like, you're going to burn?
Absolutely.
Just immediately engulf in flames?
In the beginning, I wouldn't even like show a shoulder. I was like, no.
Do it.
I'm like, I want to be a model, but not that kind of model.
You're wearing like a sheet.
It was so bad. But as I've it's so crazy because I started modeling first before getting to sex health.
Okay.
My mind was like, I'm gonna model and act and dance, and I just wanted to be a star one day, and that was my original dream.
Right.
But as I got into sex health, because of my trauma, and I'm like, I really want to educate people and make sure that especially young women don't find themselves in the situations that I've been in traumatically. It was learning through that. I learned to love my body, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, Is
I'm
it?
not going to be ashamed.
Yeah, I'm not going to be ashamed. Like, why? Granted, there's nothing wrong. Like, just because this is my opinion,
Right.
doesn't mean that if you're listening and you are a sex worker or you are someone
Right.
who is more open on camera, doesn't mean I'm against it. This is just me personally.
Right.
As I started doing more boudoir, I fell in love with my body. Like, I'm more confident now. And I always felt that as long as I was doing it in a tasteful manner and not in a way that was disrespecting my body, like derogatory to my body, I felt it was okay. I could go to sleep at night and feel just fine. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some pictures. There's
Have.
and and I'm sure some of the people listening have seen some of my photos. They're done tastefully, and that's just my style and what helps me sleep at night.
Yep.
If I were to take it further than that, it wouldn't feel good anymore, and that's why I don't do it.
But that's your threshold.
But that's my threshold, right? That doesn't mean that that's how I expect everyone else to be. If you're able to like do your thing and that's you. That's you.
Well, I love how you're presenting it because I'm sure, like I said, we're talking about something that's got a lot of shade on it.
Yeah, it does.
It's got a lot of shade because I think.
But that is part of my platform
I
too,
know,
is
I love
to
it.
be sex positive, no body shaming, being open about these conversations.
Right.
We're all different. We're supposed to all be different. Just because you think a certain way doesn't mean everyone else has to think that way.
But I think it's actually kind of, it gets, the inner workings of it get really complicated because once you say these keywords, immediately it's something that you're not supposed to talk about. And I think that's why I'm just as much loved as I am hated.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of haters out there that are like, this dude is just like, talks about dick and vagina and he uses weird words. Like, I had started using the word peen by the time I was like graduating. I loved it.
Don't even get me started on like, because I talk about men's health too. People think, oh, sex health, just the women, right? No.
It's really funny. I didn't know this until I started adulting, but I sorry to embarrass those that are out there. I'm not going to say names, but my immediate nucleus group of crew that I grew up with, I saw all their dicks by the time we were graduating high school. Not out of like pleasuring each other, but straight up like, yo, we always were either partying naked or trying to get naked, of course, to have a good time with the opposite sex. But the point is like, I grew up as I was adulting and traveling. I'm like, you've seen your friend's dick. Like, and the funniest thing, typical guys, we would find each other's delinquents, like the problems with her. Like, oh, this guy's got 2 holes in his dick. And that guy goes this way. Like, we loved that part of, we were like a naked crew.
But see, that's actually super healthy because normally if you tell someone that, they're like, oh, you must be gay.
100%.
And it's like,
so I retracted. Why? I still do it. No joke. Like, to this day, when people are like, yo, like, or I'll go swimming. And if it's like later in the evening, I take my pants. Actually, those that swim with me pretty habitually, I take my clothes off anyway. I take my pants off because I don't want them to get wet because it's the only pants I have for the day. Right. So I'm not doing it because I got a 10-inch schlong. You get what I mean? Like, I'm not Mr. Supernova out there. I'm doing it because it's more practical.
Right.
Swimming with clothes on to begin with. But once again, what is this? Who is this guy?
Right.
Like, come on. So the point is that you have to go over and above, like, to have to police this.
And it sucks because we're like conditioned to think that we can't take our pants off and it not be sexual. Why? Why does genitals equal sex?
I have a running joke that most that know me, that my block on Flagler, I say that like it's a nude beach. Obviously, it's not.
Yeah.
But I think nude. Have you been to a nude beach?
No, but I really want to.
Girl,
I really want to.
I've been in your motherland.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was my first.
I bet that was awesome.
Yeah. Okay. It was my first legal experience. I'm
Plus,
always.
that island is so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always. That's my.
Yeah. See, we need to take a trip.
Girl, that's my. I know.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I've never been to see someone's spot.
Yeah.
I'm not from there, but now that I've been there so many times, I have my favorites. But where is your spot?
So my family's from Comerío.
Adonde?
Comerio, Puerto Rico. It is in the center of the island.
So near San Juan-ish?
No, San Juan is on the.
Is it? I'm always. Oh, it's
San Juan is beaches. We're like my family's from the center, and that's like super country. It's very rural. The rainforests are there, you know, so it's magical. But Puerto Rico, you know, it's when I went to visit when I was like 11 and with my family, and I remember we could drive around the whole island like in a day, you know. So I've seen a lot of different parts of Puerto Rico. But
where's your favorite place outside of home? Because that's nostalgic. But where's
I would have to say we went to Vieques and I really liked it. Yeah. I really liked it there. I remember really loving it there. I have to go back. I have family there. So it's like,
when's the last time you were there?
I guess I take it for granted. When I was a kid, 11 or 12. Girl. Yeah, I know. That's not it's good. Like, and if my family is listening right now, I'm so sorry.
They're like calling you right now. Like, Jama.
Yeah, I know. Jama. Because my uncle's down there. Gosh, I have so much family down there, actually. My godparents' family.
You obviously know this, but yeah, it is my. It's mi corazón. It's so special and it's so easy to get to.
Yeah.
You just bring it.
See, I guess I just take it for granted because I know I can go at any time and I have a place to stay and I haven't.
You bring your ID. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't even need a pasaporte.
No.
You just go, and I love it. But I love that. That was always when I had met you. Puerto Rico carries such heavy weight to me because my very, very, very first friends when I was a kid, were 3 Puerto Rican boys.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And wait, didn't you say you grew up north? Because I'm from
New England.
I'm from New England. Yeah. So
I actually have you in my phone still as Erica Holyoke.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Because aren't you from near around?
I'm from Holyoke. Yeah, I was born in Springfield, raised in Holyoke, Massachusetts.
To this day, we're meeting more and more, but very rarely do you actually never. I think you're the only person I had ever met that were like. Because usually you go, oh, I'm from New England. Then you amplify.
Yes.
Then in the
the thing is, the second I say I'm from Massachusetts,
right?
I get. Oh, Boston. But right. And I'm like, do you hear that?
Rhode Island?
I don't have an accent.
Right. Right.
So, you know, people forget about Western Mass. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
When's the last time you were there? I'm way beat. I haven't been there.
For my dirty 30, I was there.
Is that last weekend? Just kidding.
That was.
Never mind. Leave it at be. For those that you don't know.
I don't mind. My age is not.
Yeah, you're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Most women are like.
No, I'm totally cool with it. I think I'm cool with it because.
You still got it.
People are shocked that I'm going to be 35 next month. So that was 5 years ago that I was in Massachusetts. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm not like, I don't want to tell you. Because every time I get, oh my God, I thought you were 23. And I'm like, yes.
You are super blessed. And I know that when I love, since I've met you, when I do compliment you.
Yeah.
I know that you receive it. But I know you're not like, I know, bitch.
No.
You're not at all.
I know. And all my friends know I'm super bashful. When people compliment me, I don't really know what to say. Like, I'll say thank you. And if you follow up with another compliment, I'm like, dead end. Right. I have nothing other than thank you.
But I think that also goes into your attractiveness because though you have your moments of greatness, and I know that you've seen yourself and you do have it, etc. We're all, I was having a poop day this morning.
Yeah.
I had to let it out a little bit, and I'm like, who doesn't want to be a little bit sexy? Like of course, even if you got it. And I will tell you that you're doing a very good job at this point. And life isn't just a dictation of your vanity, but like at this point, you are doing a very good job at taking care of yourself. You're blessed with a lot of good genes in general because you got that ethnicity, but like. You could be a completely opposite person and I think no matter what, which I've loved you for, is that what season are you in? You don't got to go into depth of anything because but like what type of.
So as far as like,
yeah, like where are you? Like, how are you? I haven't talked to you. Like, how are you? Like,
I'm good. I'm super busy, which is a great thing.
You like being.
I need to be go. If I'm not,
I know,
that's actually when
pitties.
I get down. That is like, it's crazy. Like most people get depressed if they don't have a period of relaxation.
Right.
I'm the opposite. If I'm not go, if I'm not like trying to achieve my next goal, I get super depressed. It's crazy. And like right now I've been working a lot with the LGBT community because that's part of sex health too.
Right.
And back in June, I spoke during Pride.
I saw that.
On the importance of sexual health for LGBT and how parents can talk to their LGBT youth. And I'm currently doing an LGBT night once a month at Moonrise Brewing Company. Been doing that. And I'm also helping someone with their group called Showing God's Love. Okay. Which is almost like a support group for the LGBT community who maybe went through an experience where the church left a bad taste in their mouth. Okay. So we talk about that. So I'm like touching base on all the taboo.
You're all over the
like
place,
now I'm
girl.
like, okay. So I broke down the wall, the barrier when it came to sex health. I do a support group for sexual assault survivors. So now we're talking about rape and all those things. Also very real. And now my current thing is the LGBT community. So I'm little by little, I'm trying to hit every little topic that's under the umbrella of sexual health and men's health too. Men, I'm going to tackle you guys next. So today I shared an article about how to talk to your partner about low testosterone, because that's something that happens as men get older, so it's not just, because a lot of men are like, oh, my wife isn't, she's just not in the mood, or she's going through this or that. Okay. But men have their moments too. And sometimes it's not that he's not attracted to you and that's why he can't get it up. It could be a hormonal issue. Right. So, I mean, I'm just really working hard on all of that. And, like I said, if the second I have a spare moment, I'm like, okay, what's next? So right now, that's why I continue to belly dance. Mondays are kind of a slow day for me when it comes to sex health. So I teach every Monday night. Every other Saturday I'm performing. So I still get my taste of, being on stage, and I'm always doing a thing.
Have you stamped yourself successful yet?
When my 10-year anniversary happened on November 4th, that's all I thought about all day. I was like, it's been 10 years. Does that mean like, can I say I'm successful? And I started asking like some of my close friends who have seen my journey. They're the ones who've seen the ugly, because people don't see the ugly part of my career. You were talking about the OnlyFans woman and some of the struggles she's been through. I've been broke. Okay. Right. I don't make a whole lot of money doing what I do. It is hard to get people to pay for my services because they think they can just have a casual conversation with me about sex and that's it. No, this pays my bills. This is, if you book a coaching session with me, that is how I pay my bills. So when I talk about the ugly, I mean, there have been some really, really hard times I've been through the last 10 years. And when I look at 10 years ago versus today, I'm like, holy crap, I guess I could say I'm successful, And one of my friends was like, these seminars and public speaking engagements, you should be charging way more. And I'm like, really though? And she's like, it's been 10 years, Erica. Yeah. Come on. So I have to have, sometimes I need that reassurance. People think that I'm like the most confident person ever and that I have my crap together. But I have my moments where I'm like, am I doing enough? Should I even charge for that? I don't know. I don't know about you and like with, the websites and stuff. I feel like
are you reading my journal?
Your journal? Yeah. Like, it's just like, it doesn't matter how long we've been doing this or how successful we become. I still feel like we have those moments where we're like, are we doing enough though? Yeah. Is it okay that, this is my standard of pay or, this is what I expect now from clients? And that's been tough for me. That's the tough part for me. Cause I can talk to people about sex all day and do these seminars. And I've done a lot of freebies. I had to get my name out there, but 10 years later, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's really, that's why I said this is the beginning of something else. Like that 10 years was one book. This is the next one,
I love that you're being vulnerable and sharing that, because I only ask that because I deal with the same thing. I had someone I was on the phone with yesterday, and they're embarking on their first ever 1099 endeavor. And they were their first one, and they have their first paying customer, and they're not freaking out, but they were like, what do I do? And I go, listen, no joke. I wish I had somebody when I was 17 tell me this. And this is why I say this now. And that is, what you do with a little bit, you do with a lot. So she was having a panic attack, and because there was 4 of something missing for the product. for the thing. And I go, imagine if there was 400. Oh my gosh. Imagine, you know what I mean? So I now try to, and I'm no business coach, and I have a lot of people that now, which has been very flattery. They have children that are going into their adolescences or post high school, and they're like, yo, you got to talk to Chenzo. He's going to help you. He'll tell you what to do. And I'm like, I was living out of my car willingly. So I don't know if you really understand like that. I'm not going to give them the counsel you may think I'm going to give them. Because the very first thing I ask anybody, and not even just kids, it's the same thing I ask adults, but I correlated into children, is anyone fucking with you? It's a big question. And it doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's always a bully, but what's messing with you? What is it? And you don't got to tell me what it is, but that's your problem because it's yours.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with that at such a young age was me.
Yeah.
I was my worst enemy and I still am. Me like too. Even today, I'm literally living my dream. But today I woke up and I felt horrible. Right. And I'm just sharing that in my podcast. I wouldn't say that in the general public. And it has nothing to do with you. I'm like, Erica, you took me down.
Erica's coming over today. No. Oh.
Let her. But I felt horrible for my own things.
Right.
And I sit there and I can hit myself in the head and say, you got it, man. Like, what do you? So I only ask you, do you stamp yourself successful? Because my best friend asked me that every single day.
I do. I think my issue is that I have moments of, am I good enough to this day? And that's what makes me second guess my stamp of approval.
Right.
You know, because like I said, that day I was like, yeah, I'm definitely successful. Right. When you look at, like, for me, it's measuring. You know, I'm type A and I overanalyze and I'm like, okay, well, if I measure where I was 10 years ago versus now,
right.
Absolutely. You know, but when someone like is just like, boom, are you successful? I'm like, huh? Well, you know, I have to think about it, you know? So, and I think it's because I still, you know, sometimes I'm like, am I good enough? And I, you know, it sucks when I get into those moments, you know, I feel, like I said, and maybe it's the question you had for me this morning, you know, about if what is it I'm trying to scream at the top of my lungs? Maybe I haven't done that. And that's what's making me second guess if I'm successful or not. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know, mind blown. Because I have those moments of, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? And then, you know, it's like there's still something there that hasn't been released.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what that is because I know it's there, and I'm like,
I can feel it.
It's there, and I don't know. It's just there's so much more to be done.
Like, you know, when I ask you that, it's not because I'm like, what's wrong with you? I can feel like it's not to pry for a negative connotation. But as I get to fall more in love with you and get to learn and see you more online and communicate with you, I only say that because it resonates with me. Yeah. So and once again, I'm not doing it like, what are you?
No, and I don't.
And
it
has nothing to do even. I don't even
No.
think it has to even do about your profession. Maybe I think it's just
personally. Yeah. Yeah, and like I said earlier, like I do have a lot going on right now. I mean, I'm happy. But there's hiccups. But everyone has them.
Remember our walk?
Like yes.
That walk was one of the most amazing.
That was a very intimate conversation, and you know, like for example, and this is something everyone can relate to: car problems. You know, there's the meme that goes around. I almost said a name
because I got a buddy right now like having car. I had to get him at the fields for yesterday, and I'm like, you can have my car, bro, if you need it.
Dude, there's like a meme that goes around that everyone I'm sure has seen, and it's like, you know, me, all my bills are paid, I'm ready to start saving. And then also me, car problem. Like the car problems happen right after that. So I'm going through car issues right now. I feel like I'm always going through car issues. It's always car issues.
You need like that's the only
helicopter
or something.
That I do.
Girl, I need you gotta get off the ground.
I need a little private jet and just because I'm over it. So over it.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's like maybe it's keeping you when I seem to be dealing with things that are consistent.
Yeah.
That are not out of my control. Like a horrible neighbor that saws all day, every day. I've at a point where I'm just like, you're going to make me stronger.
Yeah.
Because it's my, there's so, and I say this about you, not knowing every little idiosyncrasy about your actions and what you got and this, but like we're still a lot of people's dream come true. Not even state-based people. I'm talking about to this day. I like to sometimes turn off the normal Americanized high fructose corn syrup way of living. And I'm not trying to sit over here and say save the world of AIDS and the water in Africa. I get all that, folks. But like there's still a lot of people out there that would die to have your life.
Yeah.
And I know I have to remind myself by consequence of, I was telling this to somebody yesterday. One of the most, for me, I use the word romantic, not because it has to do with the opposite sex for me, but when I'm in large gatherings, airport terminals, I like my space, so I'm not talking about in a line, but like when you're able to see it, don't be like, don't touch me, bro. But being in an airport terminal or somewhere where there's a lot of people and you're able to disconnect and kind of be a drone and just see it, you realize how politely insignificant you are.
Right.
In a good way. I'm not belittling any person or like you, but it's so important to realize that we're just a massive species just trying to get by. Yeah. And sometimes I have to say this to myself. Did you eat today? You know, did you drink some water? Do you feel sexy a little bit? A little bit sexy going. Then you're good. Right. And I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking about anybody out there. I don't even give that counsel. I've never said that to anybody. Yeah. It's my own woebegons when I'm like, today's shitty.
Yeah. Like I have to remind myself that I'm like, bitch, you've been through way worse. Yeah. This is nothing. Like I have to coach myself because I mean, think about it. Like you said, like I have people in my life that have told me like, man, I want to be like you when I grow up. And I'm like, stop. And a lot of it isn't necessarily because of the career I chose, but how I got here. Right. I was a homeless teen. You know, I'm debt free. I never did drugs. Like, it's just crazy when I think of myself being 17 and homeless. How did I go from that to this without having certain vices, without having to depend on people, I just figured it out. Right. When life kicks your ass, you just have to figure it out.
Kick it back.
Exactly. And but it's not a, option. You have to. Right. And that was always my mentality. Now I'm almost 35. 17 was a long time ago. And that was right after getting raped. Like I said, I had that sexual trauma. And I'm not shy about my testimony at all. That's why I don't mind speaking about it here. So being 17, homeless, just went through a trauma, living in my car, then living in a trap house, I'm like bouncing around trying to figure out what am I going to do? And this is, and just to give you guys perspective, I was a Harvard, prospect. I had gotten an interest letter to Harvard in high school and never got to do that, So I was like, oh yeah, my priority now is to survive. Right. And from there, I just built my life little by little. And here I am. Like now it's like my apartment is my own and everything that I have is my own. And I earned it. And, I went into this career thinking I needed a degree. Right. And no, I found ways to do it out of pocket. Going to seminars, going to trainings. I've trained under all kinds of different sex therapists and GYNs. I would go to Ohio. I'd go to Vegas. Wherever I knew there was some sort of training or seminar for me to achieve this dream, right. I did it. And so when I have these little annoyances like car issues, of course, I give myself 5 minutes to feel like it's the end of the world. And then I have to remind myself, right. Like, look, it's fine. You have been through way worse. Right. This is a piece of cake, and I have to believe it. Right. I have to believe it. And that's how I get through it. And even now I've had car issues probably since September. And, oh man, I'm being so vulnerable right now. So last, 2 months, I've had to like ask people for rides. Today I borrowed a car. And that is hard, man. Yeah. I'm super independent. And to ask someone for help, that's my weakness. That is like my biggest weakness. So
Well, I love your vulnerability in a good way. I think since I've known you, you've always shared that. And I think beautiful people have a stigma that it must be nice.
Yep.
And it's actually, and it's not just people's vanity, sometimes being positive. And everyone knows that one person that's overly positive, and you're like,
yeah,
dude,
I hate it. People think I'm conceited.
Right. Well,
so,
yeah, of course.
Because I have a fan base of people who love me.
Right.
But I have a fan base of haters that just think I'm like, oh, you have all your crap together. Like, ooh, you did it at an early age. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like,
I love that you're being vulnerable. I deal with it every day.
Yeah.
I had right before I took a hiatus, I had somebody that took it upon themselves to actually corner me and tell me that the show and everything that I do is horrible. Is that crazy? And I'll never forget. I think because of spending a tremendous amount of time with myself mentally, that in the midst of massive like conflict, I don't speak with fists, and I don't fight someone's physical appearance. Like, well, your elbows are ugly. You know what I mean? All I said was I'll say things I just remember thinking to myself, you've affected me negatively in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I can assure you that when I grow up, I don't want to be like you.
Nice.
That's it.
I still believe in like killing people with kindness.
Yeah.
So when I get someone hating on me, I just keep doing whatever it is that I'm doing better. And that seems to really upset them even more. And I'm like, well,
but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I said this the other day. I'm saying this more and more to like adolescent folk, and just get comfortable with no thank you.
Right.
You don't have to have, when someone invites you to the baby shower next weekend, you don't have to go.
Yeah.
You can say no thank you, and you don't have to say that you have, your mother's dying. You could just say no thank you. You're not going to be a crowd favorite. But I do say this as a caveat, though. Those out there that are dealing with some bullshit and want the world to love them and feel like this and that and the other, well, just make sure that you don't owe anyone $5 or a hug, because those are the same folk that I've noticed, meaning that they ask for the ride to the airport.
Yeah.
But they've never given a ride to the airport, which is okay. And I don't want to conditional love anybody, but my point is this. I'm the guy that says, I'm not bringing you to the airport. I'm going to get you to the airport, but I'm also the same guy that doesn't ask to bring me to the airport next week either. So it's being comfortable with what it is that who you are, but also knowing that, look, you say this to any type A personality, and you say this to anybody who's codependent, their middle name, and say that not everyone's going to love you. It can be debilitating, right? I still find it. I want the world to love me, but like I would be lying if I sat here and try to act like I was some awesome like Jay-Z, like, yo, suck my peen. I'm not. I don't even know if Jay-Z ever said that, but I know Kanye is. Right. Kanye just did his little episode. Like, he's just getting more and more, but I can't imagine where he's at with just like F the world.
Yeah.
But
in the beginning, I was like, I was such a people pleaser at first, because I was like, oh, but that also came with starting a business so young. I thought I had to be at everyone's like beck and call.
Gotta go.
I thought that was success. Right. I'm like, oh, in order to be successful, I have to answer every call, every email, be there for every person. And if I upset like anytime someone wasn't happy with my services or whatever, I took it to heart. Like, oh, like
loser.
Seriously. I was like, I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm terrible. And oh my gosh, it took so much of my, like, every fiber of my being to be like, no, not everyone is going to be okay with this. Plus, I mean, guys, I chose sex for my career. Like, people really aren't going to like this. Now 10 years later, oh my gosh, I do so much better with that. Like, and I have boundaries now too. I didn't have boundaries in the beginning. If someone wanted to meet up with me, I was there, but it was exhausting. What made me realize that I had to change was that it was unhealthy for me. It was affecting my relationship at the time. It was affecting my everyday life. I mean, I couldn't sleep. I was stressed out. I would answer my phone at any time of the day. And But, I think it had a lot to do, again, with me being so young, and I didn't have a mentor. I just I'm going to figure this out.
Right.
So I learned the hard way, that wasn't the way to go when I
Right.
started the business. But now, a decade later, I'm like, okay, I got this. If any department store, for example, can have their set hours, so can I.
Right.
And if I still give, some of my clients still have my number, and I welcome them to text me, because sex health is also one of those topics too, where if someone is really going through something and they want to reach out right away, I let them. It doesn't mean I'm going to get back to them right away, but at least they have that outlet, and I get back to them as soon as I can. So I give them that option. It's not like you can't text me after a certain hour, so I have my boundaries and kind of like, where I bend it here and there. And of course, everyone knows Sundays. You will never, like, I'm non-existent.
Is that still your day?
That is still Sundays is still my day.
Sábado.
Yeah. And some of my peers that own businesses. So I'm in YPG, and I've met some people that are still in that stage that I was in 10 years ago. And I'm like, dude, you got to have a day off. You got to do it. No, I have certain clients that I just really have to. I'm like, trust me, you don't. And I'm really adamant about that. I'm like, if they really want your services, they will call you again on Monday. It's totally fine to have a day off, to have your set hours, to have those boundaries. How are you going to help other people if you're not taking care of yourself?
Oxygen on first, Erika.
Exactly. So,
well, I like your mindset correlates into even those that don't have a profession 1099 wise. You got it. I don't know.
It goes for everyone, because I meet corporate people that work for a corporate company or have their 9 to 5. They don't know how to communicate with their boss about boundaries. You need to still have boundaries. I mean, if someone is working you 60, 70 hours a week nonstop and you say nothing, do nothing, you'll never know if they're willing to work with you.
I would say right now, being where I'm at in the space that I'm at, I would say, as always, like for instance, right now, if you're not buying property in the metaverse, you're a loser, right? That's my world.
Yeah.
Like you're not buying online real estate in the metaverse. Losers. It's okay. You don't have to be. It's okay. Right. And I think I've been saying this more and more to myself, I have no pedestal. Yeah. I'm not preaching on life really isn't that serious. And if you're really down and you're all fucked up, go hang out we have like 5 retirement facilities here. And when I was younger, meaning like a few years ago, I would go hang out there on purpose and hang out with strangers. And it was so fruitful. You know how you joke around about like older people sucking your youth away, like hocus pocus shit.
Yep.
I was sucking so much appreciation towards. There's always going to be someone with a bigger boat.
Yep.
There's always going to be someone who's got it, who's way sexier than you, who is way cooler than you. But I can promise you, if you really evaluate the areas that you really appreciate, for instance, I to this day am so blessed that I haven't gone through my family has been a very healthy family, which I'm to this day
that's awesome.
Not for a second for granted.
Yeah.
We've had issues, we've had deaths, but when it comes to what's really going on, and like you hear some of these stories about what people are going, we are so blessed that I can pretty much get the majority of all of my entire family and distant cousins and this, that, and the other, and we're healthy. And nothing, you can ask all the look at Steve Jobs and look at all these guys, Jeff Bezos themselves right now. Like, what do you think they want more than all that? So I've been trying to tell myself, and all this long-winded explanation is just to this. It's okay. It really is okay. You can get richer, you can get thinner, but you can't get healthier.
Right.
You can't. Like you can hold on to your self-preservation as long as you want.
Yeah.
But once you start, like, you're not going to get healthier. Like there's a plateau.
Right.
You can't get healthier. You can get to a point of being healthy.
Right. But then you have to maintain it.
Isn't that funny that as humans, I've never even thought about this or even said this, but as humans, that's the only, there is a plateau of health. Yeah. That's the only thing that we can all share in common. Yeah. Not wealth, income, not social status, not financial status. None of that will ever be shared. Even if I have $1 less than you, then you're richer than me. But you and I could be as healthy, but there's only
so much.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, and you know this better than I do because you're dealing with such a taboo subject that has to deal with mental and the physical that are so connected.
So connected.
Unbelievable. It's like, to me, I'm having this, like, I love speaking in parables and analogies. I feel like financial health correlates to your mental, which is not good. It's like financial, then mental. Yeah. Whereas like with sexual, whatever, it's actually connected. Yeah. Yeah. We connect the financial to the mental.
That's so crazy that you bring up financial health because a lot of people don't even know that's a thing. Like, and I'm also, certified victims advocate. And I learned, that there's such thing as financial abuse, financial health. Like, yeah.